Picture this. You're in a room, a completely soundproof, sterile environment. In the center, there's a child, maybe 2 years old. This child has never heard a single word, never seen a written symbol, never experienced any form of language whatsoever. Now, imagine trying to teach this child anything. How would you convey complex ideas? How would you even begin to explain the simplest concepts? Think about the sheer enormity of that challenge. This, in a way, is the starting point for understanding the incredible role language plays in cognitive science. It's not just about words, it's about the very fabric of how we think, learn, and understand the world. Now, you might be thinking, well, of course, language is important. But I want you to really consider the depth of that importance. We often take language for granted. It's like the air we breathe, always there, essential, but rarely something we consciously analyze. Cognitive science, however, delves into the intricate mechanisms of the mind, and language is one of the most powerful tools it uses to unlock these secrets. It's a window into the very processes of thought. Cognitive science isn't just one field, you see. It's a vibrant, interdisciplinary meeting point. You've got linguists meticulously dissecting the structure of language, psychologists exploring how we learn and use it, neuroscientists mapping the brain regions responsible for language processing, and even computer scientists building artificial intelligence systems that attempt to mimic human language capabilities. All these different perspectives converge on this one amazing phenomenon, human language. Let's talk about how we actually acquire language. It's a process that seems almost miraculous when you break it down. Remember that child in the soundproof room? Most children, thankfully, aren't in that situation. They're immersed in a world of language from the moment they're born. They hear the rhythm and intonation of speech, even before they can understand the words. They begin to babble, producing sounds that gradually become more and more like the language they hear. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, come the first words, single words, often representing objects or people. Mama, dada, ball. These aren't just random sounds, they're symbolic representations. They're the building blocks of meaning. And this is a crucial point. These early words demonstrate an understanding that things in the world can be named, that sounds can stand for something else. That's a massive cognitive leap. From there, the process explodes. Children start combining words into simple phrases. Want juice, more cookie. Their understanding of grammar, the underlying rules of language, develops rapidly, even though they couldn't possibly articulate those rules. They move from these simple phrases to increasingly complex sentences, mastering the intricacies of their native language with astonishing speed. Now, there's a lot of debate about how this happens. One influential idea proposed by the renowned linguist Noam Chomsky is that humans are born with an innate capacity for language, a kind of universal grammar hardwired into our brains. This doesn't mean we're born knowing a specific language, like English or Spanish, but rather that we have a predisposition to learn the rules of any language we're exposed to. Think of it like a blueprint for language, waiting to be filled in with the specifics of our environment. Of course, the environment plays a crucial role. A child needs to hear language to learn it. The quantity and quality of linguistic input, the words, sentences, and conversations they're exposed to, significantly impacts their language development. It's a beautiful dance, this interaction between innate ability and environmental input. And there's this fascinating concept called the critical period. The idea is that there's a window of time, primarily in early childhood, during which language acquisition is most efficient and effective. If a child isn't exposed to sufficient language during this period, it becomes much harder, sometimes even impossible, to fully master a language later in life. There are rare and tragic cases of feral children who grew up in extreme isolation with little or no human contact, that provide some evidence for this idea. Now, let's shift gears and consider what happens in your brain when you're actually using language, whether you're listening to someone speak, reading a book, or forming your own thoughts into words. This is the realm of language processing. It's incredibly complex, involving multiple levels of analysis happening simultaneously and largely unconsciously. When you hear someone speak, for example, your brain isn't just passively receiving sounds. It's actively decoding those sounds, breaking them down into phonemes, the basic units of sound in a language. Then, it groups those phonemes into morphemes, the smallest units of meaning, prefixes, suffixes, and root words. It analyzes the syntax, the grammatical structure of the sentence, to figure out who did what to whom. It accesses the semantics, the meaning of the words and phrases, and it even considers pragmatics, the context of the conversation, to understand the speaker's intentions, which may go beyond the literal meaning of the words. Imagine someone says, "Can you pass the salt?" You don't just interpret that as a question about your physical ability to reach the salt shaker. You understand it as a request to pass the salt. That's pragmatics in action. All of this, the phonological, morphological, syntactic, semantic, and pragmatic processing, happens in a fraction of a second, and you're usually not even aware of it. The process of producing language is equally remarkable. You start with an idea, a thought you want to express. Your brain then has to translate that non-linguistic thought into a linguistic form. It has to select the right words, arrange them in the correct grammatical order, and plan the motor movements necessary to produce the sounds of speech, or the movements of your hands if you're signing. Scientists have developed various models to try to explain how language processing works. Some models, called connectionist models, emphasize the role of neural networks, interconnected nodes of processing that learn through experience. Other models, called symbolic models, focus on the manipulation of abstract symbols and rules. There's ongoing debate about which type of model best captures the complexities of human language processing, and it's likely that the truth lies somewhere in a combination of these approaches. And how is all of this information stored in your mind? This brings us to the question of mental representation. How do you represent the meaning of a word like dog or justice? It's not like you have a tiny picture of a dog or a dictionary definition floating around in your head. One key concept is the idea of concepts and categories. We organize our knowledge of the world into categories: animals, plants, tools, emotions, and so on. These categories are interconnected in complex ways, forming a vast network of knowledge. Language is intimately linked to this network. Words act as labels for these concepts and categories, allowing us to access and manipulate them in our minds. The meaning of a word isn't just a single isolated definition. It's a complex web of associations, connections to other concepts, sensory experiences, and emotions. Think about the word home. What comes to mind? Is it a specific building? A feeling of warmth and security? The smell of your mother's cooking? The meaning of home is different for everyone, shaped by their individual experiences and associations. And what about the grammatical structure of language? The syntax? How is that represented in the mind? Scientists believe that we have mental representations of grammatical rules, allowing us to understand and produce sentences we've never heard before. This is what allows us to be so creative with language, to generate an infinite number of novel sentences. Moreover, language isn't isolated from other cognitive systems. It interacts constantly with memory, attention, reasoning, and problem-solving. Think about how you use language to plan your day, to remember a shopping list, or to solve a complex problem. Language is a tool that we use to structure our thoughts, to organize our memories, and to navigate the world around us. But what happens when this intricate system malfunctions? Unfortunately, there are many disorders that can affect language. Aphasias, for instance, are language impairments caused by brain damage, often from a stroke or a traumatic brain injury. Depending on the location and extent of the damage, aphasia can affect different aspects of language, from difficulty finding words, anomia, to problems understanding grammar, agrammatism, to complete loss of speech. Dyslexia, another common disorder, affects reading ability. Individuals with dyslexia may have difficulty with phonological processing, making it hard to decode the sounds of written words. There are also developmental language disorders, where children have significant difficulties acquiring language despite otherwise normal cognitive development. Studying these disorders provides valuable insights into the workings of the normal language system. By observing what happens when specific parts of the brain are damaged or when development goes awry, researchers can learn more about the neural and cognitive mechanisms underlying language. The implications of cognitive science research on language extend far beyond the laboratory. They have practical applications in education, helping us to understand how children learn to read and write and to develop effective teaching methods. They inform speech-language therapy, providing evidence-based interventions for individuals with language disorders. They are also revolutionizing technology. Natural language processing, NLP, a field of artificial intelligence, aims to enable computers to understand and generate human language. NLP is used in a wide range of applications, from virtual assistants like Siri and Alexa, to machine translation software, to sentiment analysis tools that analyze the emotional tone of text. Consider translation. Automatic translation, powered by advances in NLP, is breaking down communication barriers across cultures and languages, something that would have been considered science fiction not too long ago. But even with these incredible advances, the nuances of human language, the subtleties of context and intent, still pose significant challenges for machines. The exploration of language in cognitive science is a journey of discovery, a constant unveiling of the intricate mechanisms that make us uniquely human. It's a reminder that language is not just a tool for communication, it's a fundamental part of who we are, shaping our thoughts, our perceptions, and our understanding of the world. It allows us to share our inner worlds, to connect with others, to build societies, and to transmit knowledge across generations. So, the next time you speak, write, or even just think in words, take a moment to appreciate the sheer complexity and wonder of this incredible cognitive ability. It's a journey that continues, pushing the boundaries of our understanding of the human mind, one word, one sentence, one thought at a time. And this exploration, this constant quest to understand how language works, has the power to transform not just how we understand the brain, but how we interact with each other and the world around us. It's a powerful testament to the human capacity for learning, for connection, and for the endless pursuit of knowledge. It's a testament to our intrinsic need, not merely to communicate but to understand, and in turn to be understood.